There's a town in Tokushima Prefecture called Wakimachi. Old buildings, traditional architecture. But if you look closer, you'll notice something. Everything here is old, and everything here is new. Traditional structures, meticulously restored. Historic facades with modern infrastructure hidden behind them. The marriage of preservation and progress. Which is exactly what this lens is. Old and new. Vintage and modern. Two lenses in one body. And for the past 3 years, it has been my second favorite lens I've ever owned, out of about 50. See, most lenses are designed to do one thing well. Be sharp, be fast, be compact. Pick a lane, optimize for it. This lens refuses to settle. You see, at f1.2 or f1.4, it has that soft, classic rendering, the vintage glow, if you like. Stop it down to f2, and it becomes a modern, clinical, contemporary lens. But in between, at f1.7 or 8, not sure because there's no marking on it, that's where the magic happens. At f1.8, you just pass the vintage glow of 1.2 and 1.4, but not yet into the clinical precision of f2 and beyond. The focal plane is sharp, properly sharp. Modern sharpness with excellent micro contrast. But the transition from in focus to out of focus, that still has weight, dimension, the three-dimensional quality you get from those wider apertures. f1.8 gives you the perfect balance, where your subject is super sharp and the background's still very well separated, without disappearing into the mush. It's not just the bokeh either, although the bokeh is lovely. It's how this lens renders the entire frame. The out-of-focus areas are not just blurred. They have texture to them, weight. Some people call it 3D pop, that sense of depth, dimension that you can feel. And I know I'm trying to sell you a mystical experience here, but I've owned many lenses, including the fabled Nikon 105mm f1.4. Technically superior, objectively much sharper lens, and yet images from that lens feel flat, like they were taken on a green screen. This has depth that you can feel. The balance between artistic rendering and the image still looking natural. Classic character without the chromatic aberrations. Sharpness without sterility. That's the Goldilocks aperture. Not too soft, not too clinical. f1.8. Just right. These walls were symbols of wealth in Edo period Japan. The more elaborate the pattern, the more prominent the family. They required serious craftsmanship, each tile hand-set, each joint carefully plastered. They weren't just functional, they were statements of quality. This lens is the same. You don't buy it because you need it, you buy it because you appreciate the quality. And you want something that will most likely outlive you and still be functional. Voigtländer used to lag behind Zeiss in build quality. The 58mm 1.4 Nokton I owned, excellent lens, but you could tell it wasn't quite at Zeiss ZF2 level. This is. The tolerances are minimal. The focus ring is damped perfectly, from minimum focus distance to infinity. No play, no wobble, no slack. The aperture ring clicks with that satisfying mechanical precision that just makes you want to play with it like a fidget spinner while watching Netflix on a sofa. Don't judge me. Compare it to a modern autofocus lens, even a relatively pricey one, and it's night and day. You see, modern lenses are computers that happen to bend light, circuit boards, motors, firmware updates. This is a mechanical instrument. It's the difference between a mechanical watch and a 30 quid Amazon special. Both tell time, only one makes you want to fondle it. And here's the thing, this lens is rebuildable, serviceable. The design is fundamentally simple. All glass, metal, precision engineering. No electronics to fail, no motors to burn out, no firmware that will become obsolete. In 50 years, modern autofocus lenses will probably become e-waste. This, someone will still be able to service it. Maybe that someone is my kid. Maybe that someone is somebody who buys it at a car boot sale in 2076. The point is, this lens will probably outlive me, and I'm oddly comforted by that. So, build quality, exceptional. Rendering, 2 lenses in one. The f1.8 sweet spot, magic. But none of that matters if it's not practical to actually use. And I've been using it for 3 years. On Leica M, on Nikon Z, different systems, different use cases. So, let's talk about what it's actually like to live with. Manual focus in 2026. Some people think too slow, too hard. Not for me. And on a Leica M, yeah, the rangefinder patch, the base length, the learning curve, it's a whole thing. But on a modern mirrorless camera like this, it's a whole different experience. Focus peaking shows you exactly what's sharp. EVF magnification lets you nail critical focus with a precision that rangefinders could only dream of. On the ZF, you even get eye detection in manual focus. You just need to twist the ring. It's not slower than autofocus, it's different, more deliberate. And if you already own an M system and another mirrorless camera, no brainer. 30 quid adapter. Suddenly this lens works on everything. Right, comparisons, because context matters. This is my work lens, the Nikon 50mm f1.8s. When I'm getting paid to shoot, that's what I reach out for. It's sharp, it's reliable, fast autofocus, because I can't afford to miss focus on paid shoots. But the Voigtländer is smaller, even with an adapter. And once you get past f2, it's actually sharper. And most importantly, it's a joy to use. The Nikon is a tool. Voigtländer is an experience. Work versus pleasure. Obligation versus choice. You know which one I reach out for come the weekend. I also used to own the Voigtländer 58mm f1.4 Nokton. Loved that lens. Similar character, the classic rendering, the micro contrast, the way it drew images rather than just recording them. But this takes it to another level. Voigtländer learned from the 58mm and refined everything. I sold the 58mm after getting this. Didn't need both. Right, weaknesses. Because if I don't tell you what sucks, you'll find out for yourself and feel misled. 1. Minimum focus distance. 0.7 meters, which is a common thing for most of M-mount lenses, but if you come from DSLR world, it might feel a bit frustrating. For me, this is a people lens, not a macro, so I'm quite fine with it. 2. You need an adapter. Now, M-mount adapters to mirrorless systems are usually pretty small, so it doesn't change your setup all that much. And since it's a manual focus lens, you can get one for 30 quid and you'll be perfectly fine. It actually opens up the door to the M-mount ecosystem. But it's another expense and another thing to keep track of. 3. Flare. Point this lens at the sun or any bright source of light and you're gonna get a flare. It's not an Apple lens, but you can't have your cake and eat it. Are any of these trade-offs deal breakers? Depends what you value. To me, I'm quite happy with them because of what this lens offers. And while we're being honest, let's talk about who shouldn't buy this. If you're new to manual focus, this is not the lens to learn on. Get a vintage 50mm f1.8 for 100 quid, spend 6 months playing with manual focus and see if it clicks for you. If it does, great, come back. If it doesn't, you just saved yourself 900 quid. If you shoot action, sports, wildlife, forget it. This is a deliberate lens for deliberate shooting. It's not slow, but you need to be intentional. If you need clinical perfection wide open, this isn't it. It has that vintage glow at f1.2. If you find that soft rather than characterful, you'll hate it. And let's be honest, there are much better ways to spend a grand. This is not a rational purchase, it's emotional. £1,000. It's a lot of money. You can get Nikon's 51.8 for 600, fast, reliable, autofocus, or you can get Voigtlander's Nokton 58mm f1.4 for 450. Or if you want absolute best autofocus option, you can get Nikon's 50mm f1.2 for 2.5 grand. So, where does this sit? Somewhere in the middle. More than you need, less than the flagship, but with something neither of those have. Magic. Now, I know how that sounds. Pretentious. But I've owned over 50 lenses over the years. And more than 10 50s. And this is my second favorite of all. Would I buy it again? Yes. In a heartbeat. Studio portraits, f1.8 to f2, controlled light, time to focus, time to see. The micro contrast gives dimension without me having to fight it in post. Outdoor portraits, moving subjects, pre-focus, wait, fire when they hit the zone. Hit rate, maybe 60–70%, but the hits are worth the misses. Travel photography. 3 years of carrying this lens, on the Leica monochrome for black and white, on the ZF for color, small enough to carry all day, distinctive enough that every image feels connected. Travel isn't about documenting everything, it's about seeing selectively. This lens forces you to choose, and that's a good thing. Street photography, zone focus at f8, f11, hyperfocal distance, 2 meters to infinity, all sharp. Manual focus becomes irrelevant when you've already focused. You've seen this lens in previous videos. This wasn't an accident. 3 years, thousands of frames, one lens. The moments that mattered and the ones that didn't matter, but I kept anyway. This is what the lens does. Everything else is just talking about it. So, Voigtländer Nokton 50mm f1.2, 2 lenses in one body. Classic rendering wide open, clinical sharpness stopped down, and at f1.8 something I still can't quite explain. Build quality that will outlive me. Manual focus that's a joy to use, but also expensive, needs an adapter, and not for everyone. My second favorite lens out of about a 50. And would I recommend it? Depends. Do you value craft? Do you appreciate the difference between a tool and an instrument? Are you willing to slow down, to be deliberate, to accept that some things in photography, hell, in life, come with a little bit of extra effort? If yes, then yes. If no, buy the Nikon's 50mm f1.8s. It's an excellent lens, and you'll be happy. But you won't have magic. Wakimachi, where old meets new, where tradition and progress aren't in conflict, they're in conversation. This lens is the same. It doesn't ask you to choose between vintage character and modern performance. It gives you both. And for 3 years, it's been one of the most consistent sources of joy in my photography. That's worth £1,000, at least to me.